Our next speaker on the water theme, Thomas. Forward and back.
Thanks, John. And I'd like to thank Lee for inviting me to the workshop. I looked at the brochure. I mean, you've got the title here. So SHM, Facilitating Community Value. In the brochure, you've got economic implications, public policies and regulations. I guess I'm linking into that. What I didn't want to do was speak about a SHM because I figured just about everybody in the room can do that better than I can. I did want to focus on the community value bit a little bit. And also building on what Tommy Chung said at the start about engaging with industry. Now I noticed in the workshop list of members, I guess where Melbourne Water sits, and so my experience is a little bit different. And I guess wanted to build on that. I've been an infrastructure practitioner for about 40 years. I've been in my current role for over 15. Melbourne Water's not a university. It's not the Australian Research Council. It's not a government department. It's not a research organisation. We're sort of like a private company, but we're not. Don't want to get into details. Obviously, we're a water utility. Just use that as an example. Any state, any country can do things differently. But assets don't necessarily know anything about the difference. A little bit more about me. 20 plus years ago, I was involved in the production of the International Infrastructure Management Manual. The UK picked that up. It became PAS 55. It then became ISO 55000. Now, why do I mention that? I guess in the context of SHM, yes, Melbourne Water has assets, lots of them, replacement costs, tens of billions of dollars. But we don't exist to design, build and maintain stuff. We exist to deliver services. And that's actually the core of ISO 55000. Assets exist to support services. And so I guess what I'm trying to do is just a bit of a helicopter view, because we need several discussions about the same thing. There are research questions, and I'm comfortable with pretty much everything I've heard today about the detail. But there's also a value proposition. I mean, look, this is a corporate slide, but the difference between assets and services, and I could have given you a list of all the assets we've got, but we're a multi-billion-dollar a year business because we have to do this stuff. And if you get to the core of ISO 55000, could be non-asset solutions. Actually, did put up a slide with assets, but it's not the main game. Where we're not quite a private company, we have to go through a regulator. The detail doesn't matter, different. We don't exist to grow revenue, grow profits. Everything we do is looked at through the lens of how does it get our prices down, how does it deliver value. Now in Victoria, they happen to use for the water sector, they happen to use the Primo model. Again, the details don't matter. The key words is they're focusing on things like performance, risk, engagement, and outcomes. Why did I say we're not the ARC? I mean, we don't fund research. We've got to look at everything through the lens of how does it deliver value, how does it deliver benefits. And just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. And it's the difference between a research question and an implementation decision. The other thing sometimes is perfect can be the enemy of good enough. And sometimes you don't know what the difference is until you get into the detail, like research. And just in, I guess, in the interest of time, I mean, there's things like one of the key things, condition assessment, useful life. Now, yeah, we have to package that up in a certain way and go to the regulator. Again, the details don't matter. Just sort of hold on to the concept. If we say, look, we think, look, a model or a tool or something is giving us a remaining useful life of X years. We therefore need money to do something. The regulator will then say, well, prove that it's got a remaining useful life of 10 years. I'm not having a go at consultants, but just to illustrate the point. Us saying, oh, we engaged a consultant and they did something in a black box and that's the remaining useful life, and therefore we want $500 million in 10 years' time to replace something. It's not necessarily going to give us the information we need to deal with other stuff. I guess pulling back the practitioner bit with my research role, Melbourne Water is typically involved in 50 to 100 live research projects at any one time. One thing that's fairly typical for us is that we address things and write things up in one way, typically like with unis, particularly when you're trying to get money out of the ARC. But that's not the same language, it's not the same focus, it's not the same audience when you're talking industry outcomes. So even when we see perfect alignment between service value and the research question, on the documentation, we still find we need to speak at least 2 different languages because we've got different audiences. Sure. And so I'll end there. Thank you.